everybody, and welcome to Criminal Psychology Files. Today's story, Ed Gein, the Plainfield Butcher. In the quiet town of Plainfield, Wisconsin, there was a home in the cornfields, a farmhouse, if you will, that held secrets too grotesque to even talk about. But this is that story, the story of Edward, or also known as Ed Gein, the man who inspired cinema's most terrifying monsters, but whose real horrors were far more disturbing. Movies such as Norman Bates with Psycho, Leatherface with the Chain Saw Massacre, or Buffalo Bill with the Silence of the Lambs. All of these films have one thing in common. They were all born from one man's crimes. This is that story, the making of a monster, Edward Gein.
And so we have gone through your home, and there's a lot of body parts, including Mrs. Warden's body, who you had killed. And you had them hung up, at least Mrs. Warden, and you had taken skin off of her, as well as, among other things, you've removed body parts. What were your intentions? What were your intentions by taking these body parts from graves, and also the removal of other things from Mrs. Warden?
I don't know. I read these things in magazines. I've seen things in magazines where they've done those things to animals. I don't know.
Ed, you would take the heads off of your victims. Was this something that gave you a thrill?
That's the whole thing. I didn't really feel anything about it at all.
So Ed, Bernice Worden, you had frequented her store. You'd go in there, and did you like her? You had asked her out on a date? What was that about, Ed?
No. That wasn't it at all. It was a joke. I would joke about roller skating if she liked roller skating. She said she never tried it before, and I said, me neither. Perhaps we can go roller skating and you can hold me up. I'm making a joke about it. That's what it was.
So Mrs. Worden, when we found her, Ed, she was hanging up like you would drain an animal, kind of split in the same way, Ed. Why did you do that? Why did you hang up Mrs. Worden?
I guess I seen her like those magazines, those hunting magazines. We have a lot of deer here, and hanging her up like a deer. I guess I seen her like a deer, like she was a deer, just hanging there like you would a deer.
The wounds, Ed, were very unique. The cuts from from our forensic team said these are very unusual cuts. Did you use a particular kind of blade on these victims, Ed?
Yes, I made my own knife, if you will. I used files because files are known to sharpen, which they have to be stronger. So I was able to sharpen the file and put a handle on it because you need that cutting through and hitting bone. You need something strong like that in order to do this cutting.
Hello, everybody. This is Greg Stewart, and welcome again to Criminal Psychology Files. And today we're going to get into this story a little bit. And one of the things in reference to the interrogation that is concerning to me is that when I meet with a client in life coaching, where your voice, where your volume, how you carry your words makes me really focus on how you carry your words. For instance, if someone is talking to me calm, like I am with you, I'm like, okay, we're having a conversation. But when I hear emotion raise up or the cadence of their voice goes faster, I now realize that, yes, maybe this is part of their personality, but they speak more emotionally and connect more to their feelings, opposed to maybe someone that would speak slower and figure things through a more logical sense. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I want to clarify that. But what makes Ed so scary to me is that his demeanor just stays one level calm, as if there's no problem. Why I'm here, there's no problem. He's totally fine with what they're bringing to his attention. And that's scary to me. When someone can be this calm, this relaxed, and there's no emotion. This is a psychology beyond the norm because there is no emotion of what he is being accused of. The closest thing you heard was in reference to the date with Miss Bernice Worden, where he said, did you like her? Did you want to take her out? You felt a little bit of an increase of the volume. If you had to look at it on a blip, a little bit like a nerve was struck, but for the most part, Ed kept his composure. And then the way he answers questions, he references them almost childlike, or he's just really good at using generalizations to not give himself up totally or say something that is even beyond what he should be saying, maybe because of the PTSD of his mother, which we're going to get into, or who knows what, the abuse of alcoholic father, but he's watching his words. And that's what that kind of cadence, going back to the language, going back to the body language, there's no physical movements, there's no verbal movements in reference to raising levels to show emotion. He is totally calm, totally cool, and totally collective. And this is concerning. This is concerning because he just sees the norm with this. So let's go ahead and hear the rest of this interview and how it takes place, and we're going to continue to break this down.
So, Ed, I'd like to talk to you about the bodies, the bodies that you took from the graveyard. I'd like to know, why did you do it? And why did you decapitate them? Why did you cut them up? What was your reasoning behind taking bodies out of the graves of these dead people?
I took them because I needed them to do something. And I was using the skin to make a woman suit to remind me of my mother or some woman. But that's why I needed certain bodies and their skin to be a certain way. Some skin was better than others to accomplish this, then some wasn't so bad.
And so you had other things in your home that looked like you wasn't making a suit, Ed. You had things in your home that looked like belts and lampshades and a couple other things I can't really make out that looks like it wouldn't be part of making some sort of suit or costume, Ed. So why go into making furniture out of the body parts and skin? Why would you do that, Ed?
They were memories and extensions of my mother. These were extensions of making the leftovers, as you may say. I don't know, but I guess we can call them leftovers. And now the whole thing about making the suit was to reconnect to my mother. And so having those items, I couldn't let them get thrown away, because that would be like throwing away something of my mother. And I'm not going to do that.
Can you tell me a little bit about your mother and your relationship with your mother? I'd like to understand the connection of the skin suit and the items around the house. You said that this would be considered leftovers, and your mother is not a leftover, I guess you're saying. And so, therefore, you had to use it in ways to have an extension of her around your home. What was that relationship like with your mother?
My mother is a wonderful woman. She's very caring, very loving. She would tell us things on what God would say in a good book. And so she was a very good woman, and she had very good ways about how we should be raised, and not much I want to say in reference to this particular thing that you're asking. So I won't be mentioning anything anymore about that right now.
Judging by the tears in your eyes, it sounds like you had a very close relationship, and I respect your feelings and not wanting to speak about your mother. But I do want to speak about another person that I'm wondering if you are linked to. Can you tell me a little bit about a woman by the name of Mary Hogan? Does that ring a bell to you, Ed? Mary Hogan. People said that you've known her, that she was tough on you at times. And how did that make you feel? And did you do anything to her, Ed?
Yes, I knew Mary Hogan. She owned a local bar in the area, and I did shoot her in the head, in the back of the head. And I wanted to preserve her face, so I put it in a paper bag and I put it in a box. And it's in my home there. I know I denied it earlier, but that is what happened to Mary Hogan.
Yes, Ed, you did deny it at one point. And why did you deny it? I mean, you shot Bernice in the head in the same fashion, and then you're telling us now, but why would you deny Mary Hogan?
I don't know. I don't know why. You know, the magazines I read in reference to Hitler and the Nazis, I felt a connection of these darker magazines and how the Nazis would take pieces of bodies off. And so I felt that that's how they established connection with the people that they killed in wartime or when they were fighting against other countries. And it just connected with me. That's how I feel about that.
So taking the skin was a ritual or a connection with your mother, I should say, not a ritual, but it sounds like what the Germans did was more of a ritual. How does that connect with Mary Hogan? Because you kept the head and you shot her in the back of the head, but you kept her preserved from looking at her in her face. So her face wasn't shot, but the fact of her head was. Can you elaborate more about that? I'm just trying to understand.
Yes, in the magazines I read, they would keep some part of their kill and keep it so it was preserved in a way. And I guess that's what I was doing with Mary.
And there's reason for us to believe, Ed, that she verbally scolded you from time to time. Is this true? Like you'd come in to the tavern there, and did you have any demands, or did you not buy anything? But she was angry with you or treated you in a certain way. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, she would see me hanging around. I would just say hello to her or other people in there, and she would just say, "Are you leaving or are you drinking? And if you're not, get out." And she had a very tough way with her words towards me sometimes. And that's what I remember.
Is that why you shot her, Ed? Because she made you angry? She made you angry. She said things, tried to get you out of the tavern for reasons of her own that this upset you.
I wasn't upset with her at all. I just did what she said. And I don't know why, thinking to that time, why I shot her in the head. but I did. But I was not upset with her. But I can't tell you, I just did that to her. I don't remember why.
Okay, Ed, we're going to take a break in a moment, but so you had claimed to kill two women. And outside of those two women that you killed, Mary Hogan and Bernice Worden, you claim that you didn't kill anybody else and that the other bodies were from you grave robbing. Excuse me. Okay, and then you use the other body parts as an extension of your mother. The influence also came from magazines in reference to World War II, particularly during the time of the Nazis, and how they would have rituals of keeping body parts. Not that yours is more an extension of your mother. And so you wanted to keep that memory alive, I'm assuming, but that's for the doctors and yourself to talk about. Outside of that, I think we're going to take a break, and then someone else will be with you shortly to take you to a place where you can rest yourself for the evening before someone else comes and talks to you, Ed. Okay, then. We're going to close this out right now.
So, as our story is about to conclude, the one thing I want to connect on is how Ed Gein's mind in these interviews were all over the place. Like nothing was concrete in reference to his psychology. He would be asked questions during the interview in reference to why did you do something or what was the inspiration? And then he would go off topic and then he would go back on topic and then he would go off topic and then he'd go back on topic. And you could just see how his mind was working and the calmness behind it, the logical thinking of his mind in this schizophrenic place of going and bouncing from here to here, almost as if he's not comprehending. And this is a big part in reference to whether they're functional schizophrenic or whether they're another level of schizophrenia. Well, he definitely displayed these things, these psychologies, these tendencies of getting off topic and even while having the conversation, bounce into another memory of thought and answer it in that way. This was Ed Gein's way of connecting with himself, and his home also displayed that. When they walked into his barn, when they walked into his home, they seen his whole mind and how it was working just from the macabre scene of his home and how he lived every day. Because isn't your home a representation of you? Isn't what we drive? Isn't what we listen to? This is exactly the mindset that they were walking to when they seen this display of bodies and skin lamps and belts and all these things all over. So this was his psychology coming undone. This was the monster of this person. And if you want to go more in depth beyond the interviews, there's two things I would recommend you to watch. One on the Netflix. There's a Netflix show with a gentleman, Charlie, I forget his last name, who played in Sons of Anarchy. He is the star in the Monster, the Ed Gein story, which is on Netflix this October. But if you go back, I think a couple years, there's a great documentary on Paramount that you can watch. Also, MGM Paramount, which has the lost tapes of Ed Gein, and it's called Psycho: The Lost Tapes of Ed Gein, and it's about a 3 or 4 episode program, so it's a mini series, but it elaborates really deeply. Now, I will say, be warned that the pictures are from the murder scenes, and they're very, very, very intense. So they're very graphic, and I just want you to be aware that what you're watching are actual footage, actual pictures, and grotesque, intense intense stuff that you'll be seeing there. And each episode, they warn you as well, and they get more graphic as the storyline goes. So those are two ways that you can also follow up from this episode in reference to how Ed Gein's mind was working through his psychology. You'll see the relationship with his mother. You'll see the relationship with an alcoholic father, a demanding mother, a protective mother who used her faith to control her children, particularly her two boys, Henry the elder, and of course Ed Gein. So moving forward, they went from a little bit of what's called a bigger city to move to a very low populated home in Plainfield so she can control both boys and mold them to the way that they seen fit, except their molding was abusive. So take a look at these two things. I think you're going to enjoy those on top of this episode today of Criminal Psychology Files. I do hope you enjoyed the program. Please continue to watch by subscribing, like, and share. And again, connect more on these details because it is a lot longer story than what we told here today. But I hope this whets your beak enough that you could say, you know what, I am going to check those episodes out and go ahead and observe those. And also comment about what you connected here, how it made you see this story, how it also you could see the influence in movies that we discussed earlier, from Psycho to Silence of the Lambs to the other one was Silence of the Lambs, and well, you get the point there, but you could see, oh, and Texas Chain Saw Massacre. So once again, please, elaborate, comment, subscribe, and like. And then also, if you do check out those, the Netflix Monster Story, also the Lost Tapes of Ed Gein, please re-comment again and say, wow, I've seen that. This was a good opening to whet my beak into that, and really showed you the psychology of how someone who has a schizophrenic way, but also a way that it went to the next level of schizophrenia by having him hear, feel, and see, and really believing he was his mother. So until next time, this is Greg with Criminal Psychology Files. I hope you enjoyed, and I look forward to speaking, seeing, and have you listen to this podcast again. Until next time, have a great day or evening, wherever you may be.